God called you. You were born for such a time as this. You're a man for such a time as this. God is looking for at least one who will carry the fire of the Holy Ghost. He's looking for one who will obey. He's looking for one who will stand up when everybody else is sitting down. He's looking for one who will not bow. Looking for one that will not shut up. He's looking for one that will stand up and say, Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and is not ashamed of the gospel. He's looking for men that are on fire.
Religion's not going to set anybody free. But the Holy Ghost will set everybody free. You'll taste and see that the Lord is good. And you'll never thirst alcohol again. You'll never thirst heroin ever again. He'll fill every desire. He'll bless you coming in. He'll bless you going out. He needs Holy Ghost believers.
You've got a vision. You know God has called you to more. You weren't created just to dream. You were created to build. God gives you power to create wealth, and He blesses the work of your hands. Your business can be part of your calling. Get in the room. Discover Kings and Priests with author Pastor Lou Wooten of the River Church. Kings build and create resources. Priests carry God's purpose. When the two collide, vision gets built. Plus, special guest Adam Lamb, 8-figure entrepreneur and executive coach. Think bigger, build stronger, go further. Business without compromise.
Kitchen table, Sunday story. In a world that's loud and busy, we slow it down, we get steady. Opinions flying like the feathers, we're chasing wisdom, pulling closer. Family, ministry, all this pressure, we lay it down, look for treasure. In a world full of opinions, we're listening for your voice, we're learning how to love like you. Choice on this road we walk together, Holy Spirit be our guide. Big hat chat, we're growing till your heart is seen in our lives. In a world full of opinions, we're listening for your voice, we're learning how to love like you. In
Hello, 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 and welcome to Big Hat Chats. I am Sandy Haynes, filling in for Pastor Lori today. I just wanted to say welcome to everybody that's already joined in. Hello, 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 and good afternoon. Real quickly, I was not anticipating doing this today, but our pastor always says, be ready in season and out. So Amen. I actually told Pastor Lori absolutely that I would go ahead and help out this afternoon. So I am excited to be here. Any lovely ladies that have questions or comments for me, hi, Jonathan, go ahead and pop them into the chat and I will try to attempt to get to all of them. So I have no lollygagging around, so I'm just going to jump right into it today. You're welcome, Pastor Lori. It's my honor and pleasure. Today I had an idea, and then of course I was like, no, probably not. And then I had about another 100 things go through my brain. And so what I settled on was the topic of love. And one of the reasons I did that is because I am finding the older I'm getting and the more people that I'm trying to help or sponsor or guide or lead, one of the bigger conversation topics is love and how that looks, what that looks like, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what is a boundary versus unconditional love. Hello, Kayla. Hello, Linda. Hello, everybody. So glad you guys are here with us today. So actually, when I was doing one of my ministry classes, I did one of my sermons actually on love. And so I was going through and thinking on the way here, honestly, didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. So it was like, okay. And the first thing that came to my mind was my children. When they're babies, really easy to love a baby. And my granddaughter, Neil, would you put up the one of me and my granddaughter, please? So little Miss Arabella is absolutely one of the highlights of my life. I am so blessed to be able to be with her pretty much every week with my daughter and her husband's schedule. Typically on Fridays, I go and spend a good part of the day, and she is so easy to love. Even if she's getting crabby, it's just like I can't help but smile when I'm around her. And then I have my grandson, quite older. Arabella turned 1 back in May, so she's still a little one, just a toddler walking. She's walking really well now. She's actually getting a little bit more into running. But then I also have a grandson. He's actually 9 and will actually be 10 in December. So he was the first highlight of my journey of becoming a grandmother over 9 years ago. And so when I think about my grandkids, it's just easy. It's easy to love the grands. If you're a grandparent, you totally know, you totally feel me, you totally get this, you understand. And then we have our children. So I had one that I sent you with my daughter and her son. So Cynthia is my oldest, 30 years young. She has my beautiful grandson. And actually that particular day we were out at Silver Creek Falls. So interestingly enough, my oldest daughter, myself, and my sister, all 3 graduated this last term, and we all got our associate's degrees. So for our own personal graduation kind of celebration for ourselves is we actually went and took a little hike. And this was this was from there where Cynthia, I grabbed this one of them too. It's priceless. Absolutely love my daughter. Have learned so much. And just watching her the way she is with him, things are different today than they were back when I was having kids. So just a lot of advancements. And then my younger daughter, I couldn't find, in the short amount of time I was trying to find pictures, I couldn't find one of just the 2 of them. So there's one of us 3. This was about a month or so ago. But you just see that smile on Arabella's face, and she just knows that she's loved. She knows that she's cared about. My daughters know that they are loved. And it didn't dawn on me until much later in life. One of the things that I had to do with my kids was to apologize to them. There's one of all three of them with the background. There we go. That's one of them. So those are my three kiddos. Obviously, my girls are still with us. My boy in the middle, I lost him 4 years ago. And that has really reshaped me, honestly. The way I live, how I love. I always wanted my kids to know that I loved them from a very early age. As soon as I had my children, I wanted my children to know that I loved them, irregardless of what they did, of what happened, no matter the choices that they were going to be making, that they were always loved. I've literally kept the same phone number for years and years and years, actually almost 30 years now, just for the simple fact that when my kids were little, I had them memorize my phone number. And so that if anything were to ever happen and they did not have, the cell phone technology, most people don't memorize numbers these days. So I wanted to make sure that if they didn't have their phone, if it, got broken or out of battery or whatever, and if they had to use somebody else's phone, that they would actually know my phone number so that they could call me in an emergency. And that has happened. So I'm just thankful for my kids. You can go ahead and take that one down. And then the reality came of, it's easier to love our kids, grandkids are super easy. Our kids, once they start getting a little bit older, it can be more challenging because they start to do things and you're not in control anymore. And so my codependency had to get put in check and realize that I'm not in control of my kids. I am merely there to love them, to guide them, and to offer suggestions wherever I can when they're willing to listen to them. And that is a huge thing for me because I want my kids to always know that I love them, irregardless. And then we go from the grandkids and the kids to our spouses. So I was remarried. We've been together 4 years now. And my husband and I got married in the midst of quite a bit of tragedy, honestly. So he had lost his mother in December 2021. I lost Brian in February of 2022, and we were married in April of 2022. So there was a lot of hard, and then a fantastic. So this is my fourth marriage. So it's not my first time around the block, as I like to call it. I have a lot of life behind me, and I've had a lot of trials behind me, trauma that I've survived through. And one of the biggest things that I had to learn was, what did love look like when it wasn't quote unquote perfect? So I know that we see shows all the time that show this perfect love. Nothing ever goes wrong. Everybody's always smiling, always happy. And quite frankly, that's not reality. Reality is, the snoring. Can you get to sleep? It's the accidental elbow when they turn over and, you're getting got because you're sleeping so close and you don't have a lot of space. It's the meals of who's going to cook. Oh, I don't want to cook. Well, I don't want to cook either. So what are we going to do? How many frozen meals are we going to be eating this week? Who's doing the basic stuff around the house? Who's doing the yard stuff? If you have land, who's the one out there, pruning and picking and, just all the things. And then what happens when you don't agree? Where is the money going? So I have learned a lot of lessons that I've had to implement and, dare I say, try to perfect when it came to having a spouse and loving them unconditionally. My husband, Ron, and I have already been through a lot. When we got together, we actually met back in 2020 when the wonderful COVID stuff was going on. And he was okay with wearing the masks. I was not. And so it was very interesting seeing his perspectives versus my perspectives, and just how we were different in a lot of ways. But we didn't let the differences tear us apart. We did have challenges. We had issues. And then when we were able to come back together, we came back together in the biblical sense of doing it the right way. Became new creations, rededicated our lives to Christ, and actually were not sleeping together until we got married. And as odd as that sounds, the reality is that's not common these days. It's more common you meet somebody, you think they're hot, and then you're taking them home, versus getting to actually know somebody before you're doing that kind of stuff, because you're basically giving your body, which in turn a lot of times ends up giving your heart, to complete strangers. And then once you realize that you really don't care for the person, then it's like, oh, well, you basically end up just using them. So when I learned the biblical senses of love covers a multitude of sin. 1 Peter 4:8, I believe it is. Did I say it right? Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sin. So what is sin? Sin is disobedience, plain and simple. Doesn't matter to what degree, whether it's a white lie or whether you're literally killing somebody. Sin is sin is sin is sin is sin. And the bottom line is what are you going to do when sin hits? How allowable is that going to be? What are your boundaries? If you're going into a relationship and saying, I will love them until they do XYZ, that isn't love. You can have boundaries and put them in place at the beginning, saying this is something that we together are choosing to not do or to do. It can go both ways, depending on what the situation is or what you're talking about. But it needs to be discussed. It needs to be something that's talked about. It needs to be transparent. It's not something that, oh, by the way, I've been a closet drinker for, 10 years and this whole time you didn't know it. That's not cool. You should be able to be completely transparent with people, be honest with somebody. And if you're going to be in love, going to choose to love that person unconditionally, you have to love them in the midst of everything that they have done. Whatever the past is, it doesn't matter anymore. It's what are you going to do about it today? I am not perfect. I know I try to be as quote unquote perfect as I can. I like to be liked, but at the same time, I'm not going to change my moral standards for somebody else so that they do like me. I would rather them, not like me and just go about their day and they can do whatever they want to do, than to try to put on a facade like I used to do, because actually that's how I lived for a long time. Was depending on where I was would depend on the mask that I was wearing for that particular day or for that particular hour or whatever. It had to do with my surroundings. It had to do with who I was around, what situation I was in. And I didn't want to be that person anymore. I wanted to be who I am in church is who I am at home. How I would speak at church is how I would speak at home. How do I speak to my kids is how I would speak in church. I don't want there to be a separate person because of the building that I'm in or the situation that I am in. So when I break down the what is love, in 1 Corinthians, everybody knows the love chapter. because you've heard it 100 times. No matter, more often than not, when you go to a wedding, you're going to hear the 1 Corinthians 13. What is love? Love is patient. Love is kind. You want to grab that one for me? Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails. We hear the love is patient, love is kind. That's pretty much where people normally stop. But if you think about it, patience, so often we're actually told, don't pray for patience or you'll actually get it. Okay. But then right after you're praying for patience, you're put into a situation where you have to make a decision. Are you going to be patient or not? Pretty much typically whenever you're praying for something, or maybe whenever I'm praying for something, if I'm praying for something, I'm going to be tested in that almost immediately. Am I going to allow the Lord to work through me and persevere in what I'm asking for? Am I being patient over a situation? My worst one, hands down, without a doubt, is behind a vehicle. I do not like traffic. I don't like most other drivers. So I have to really pay attention and typically really crank my praise and worship music and sing a lot when I'm driving, because I do not have much patience when it comes to vehicles. Just being real. Which then, of course, brings it into the kindness. I can sometimes not be very kind because I get very irritated with the person in front of me or something that just cut me off. But then, I had a situation, and this was what was told to me. If you are getting cut off, and what are most people wanting to do? The most common answer is they're wanting to flip people off. So what happens when you find out that person that just cut you off has their child in the back of their vehicle and they are racing to get to the hospital because something is seriously wrong with that child? Does that change how patient you want to be? Yeah. It absolutely can. If somebody is just racing because, oh, I want to get in front of you, or, oh, I got to get in my burger, kick rocks, whatever. It's not important. But if you're thinking, okay, how do I know that? Because I've had that situation happen. I had my son go into a severe reaction after one of his chemotherapy treatments and puking profusely in the backseat of the car. There was nothing I could do because it was just me and him. And so I'm calling the hospital and they're like, turn around and get back here ASAP. So that's exactly what I did. And I was speeding and cutting people off. And I'm like putting my head up. Sorry. Could they hear me? Probably not. But the reality is what if that was somebody else that just who cut you off? Can you try to change the way you're thinking about the situation? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But if you just tell yourself, okay, they're in a crisis, and whether it's true or not, it really doesn't matter. But if it can calm you down, take you down a notch to where you're not so, it can help. Just that tweak of a mindset. I love you too, sweetheart. Oh, my husband got on. Hi, honey. Okay. Does not envy, does not boast, is not proud, does not dishonor others, is not self-seeking. Self-seeking keeps no records of wrongs. Okay. So that's one of my favorite ones. So keeping no records of wrongs is something that I used to do. Very much so. I kept a record of wrong. Don't you remember last week when you did XYZ? Or don't you know 5 times now you've done, whatever. Once it's done, it's got to be done. It has to stay in the past. And however hard that is for the reality of the situation, when you're trying to keep records of wrongs, basically what you're doing is you're wanting to give yourself an excuse, a reason that it's okay for you to do what you're thinking or what you're wanting to say that isn't what you should be thinking or should be saying. You do not need to have an excuse. You do not need to have a reason. You need to stop right there, right there. And I have to catch myself with this as well. Not perfect at it. I'm getting better at it because I used to be that record keeper until I got asked one time, why are you trying to hold on to something so that you have ammunition so that you can bring it up later? What good does that really do? It just doesn't help. It's not a helpful situation. So if you can wake up every morning, I know Pastor Lori is really good at new mercies every morning, mercies every morning, mercies every morning. So keeping no records of wrongs every morning. Every morning is a new day. It's a new start. It's a fresh start. Are you going to accept it as the fresh start? Or are you going to hold on to the past? It's a decision that you have to make. What choice are you going to make? Are you going to hold on to something? Or are you going to keep bringing it up? If you have something in your heart that is hurting your heart because of something somebody else did, then you have an unforgiveness issue. You need to forgive that person and let it go, because the only thing that it's hurting is yourself. It's not hurting the other person, because more than likely than not, they've already gotten past it. They're over it. They've already moved on. So why don't you? Just saying. Think about it. What are your reasons for what you're doing? Protecting, always protects, rejoices in the truth and always protects, always trusts, always hopes. What are you trying to protect? Is it an evil heart or is it a loving heart? I want to protect loving hearts. I want to guard my heart. I absolutely want to guard my heart, but I want to protect those that I love. And who do I love that's closest to me? My husband, my kids, my grandkids, my siblings, my nieces and nephew, and, my immediate family, my extended family, those that have become my family just because of where I'm at, those that call me mom, that I'm not actually their mom, but they still love me as a mother figure. I want to protect those people. I want to be able to trust those people. So when they say that they're going to do something, that they're going to actually do it. Worst thing you can do is tell somebody, I'm going to do, and then just flat not do it. Because then your word isn't your bond. You're not following through with what you're saying you're going to do. And it can be something simple. I'm not even talking about big stuff. I'm talking about little stuff. And there's one thing about forgetting. There's grace. Some of us older, we quite literally honestly forget. Give us grace. But if it's an ill intent, where's your heart at? Am I trying to be malicious, or am I trying to be helpful or hopeful? What is my goal? Love never fails, always hopes, always preserves. Where are your hopes? Do you hope for a future, or are you hoping for the day that you're single again so that you can make more mistakes? If you go through, the patient kind does not envy, not boast, not proud, does not dishonor others, not self-seeking. You see all those nots? Not easily angered. How many times do we get easily angered because the person we love says something or does something that we didn't want? And we are choosing to get angry instead of immediately forgiving them and continuing to press on and work through it and not stay stuck in it. No record of wrongs, not delight in evil, rejoices with the truth, protects, trusts, hopes, perseveres. There's a lot of ises and there's a lot of nots. So which ones are you doing and which ones aren't you doing? And this can be for anybody. And it's not just your spouse. I have, gals that are in the engagement stage and they'll say, he better not ever do. Well, think about the reality of the situation. What happens if they do? Or what happens if they do something a little bit differently? you just never know until it happens. I didn't know I was going to be on this broadcast until I got the phone call. Not even an hour and a half ago about coming here. You never know what's going to happen. And especially in love, you cannot know what's going to happen. When I lost my son, that last night that I gave him a hug and said goodnight to him, I did not know that was going to be the last time. I am so thankful that I still have my girls. So incredibly thankful that I still have my girls. But I will always carry that loss of my son with me in one way or another. It doesn't go away. You know, some people, they have the loss of, their spouses. I've lost a spouse. He actually divorced me before he did pass away, just months before, because he didn't want me to watch the final stages. And that upset me because he took that part of the vow of, I will love you, till death do us part. He took that away from me because he did not want me to see him in his worst. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. But it makes you think. It makes you wonder the what ifs. What if different things had happened? What if different things had changed? What if my son was still here? The end of this month, 8/29, would have been his 22nd birthday. And so I asked my daughters if we could actually get together in honoring him, not in the fashion of, because of the fact that he's gone, almost more of just a reason to get together and celebrate life. Because although he is gone, we are still here. We are still called to love others. We're still called to love one another, love our neighbors, to love God. And what does God want? God wants us to be happy. Honestly, he wants us to live, not survive. He wants us to be faithful and honest and true. And so what does that look like for you? It can be a whole different situation depending on how you were raised. Some people grew up in very loving, caring homes. Other people grew up with addiction and abuse and a lot of issues in the home. So depending on how you're being raised will greatly affect how you grow up and your outlook on life. But then there's the fun fact of once you get older, and this was a hard one for me because for a lot of years, I blamed other people for my actions. If they hadn't done this to me, then I wouldn't be doing that. If he hadn't abused me, then I wouldn't be doing this. And there's a lot of situations exactly like that where we want to place blame to others for our actions. But the reality of the situation is it's not their fault that we are making the choices that we're making. We have to step up and be accountable for our reactions, for our actions. No matter if you're doing an action or a reaction, it doesn't matter. You are still responsible for your actions or reactions. Consequences, good, bad, or indifferent, they're still yours. Unless you have a very good codependent that's trying to take those away and you're not having to deal with the consequences and you really need to be. Just saying. If you're in a codependent situation, I would highly suggest you learn some boundaries. It's not easy. I know we're at the church wrapping up a boundary class series, and it has been eye-opening and actually helping me understand some of the ways that I do things because of how I was raised, the way I was taught. And although there was a lot of things that I changed and have continued to change over the years, we're always learning, always growing if we allow ourselves to. We can choose to be that vessel for Jesus to use, or we can live in the world. It's absolutely our choice. So the choice is absolutely ours. I don't know, if anybody has any feedback or questions or comments or wants prayer. I just know that for me, life has taken a lot of turns. I have lived a lot of life. I have been through a lot of life. And so when I speak about certain things, there's topics I'm very passionate about because I have been through some really tough stuff. And I no longer allow my circumstances to make excuses for any kind of a behavior that I have had. Did I use things as excuses in the past? Absolutely. I did it all the time. But today I don't want to do that. I am part of my CR testimony is loving in the midst of, working through things, not being stuck in. I have lived a lot of life. It's not always easy to go through certain things, especially when you're dealing with the loss of a child. No parent should ever have to deal with losing a child, but the reality is that happens. Sometimes it happens with infants. I will never forget, I had made a comment online about how I had only 17 years with my son. And then I had somebody post, at least you had 17 years, because he had lost his child in an infant, the SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And I can't remember if she was like 2 or 3 months old, but literally an infant, like a baby. And so when they made that comment to me, it took my breath away. And it was like, oh my gosh, that's right. I have to pay attention to the words that I'm speaking, because I may have had, quote unquote, only 17 years, but I did have 17 years. So I'm not going to use my son's death as an excuse for going back out and living in the world. I don't, I have to go do the dishes. Honey, I love you. So, total lost my train of thought. Okay, speaking life. I don't remember where I was, but this is where I'm going. Speaking life over yourself. Don't give in yourself excuses. So one of the things that I acknowledged, so I wasn't a big drinker, was never an alcoholic. I grew up with an alcoholic father, never wanted to be one. So that was one thing that I knew I didn't want to do, didn't want to be a part of. I didn't want to, the whole meth and stuff. I've never touched it. I can't tell you what it's like or anything, because never been there, never done that, never tried that. But what was fascinating to me was when I did lose my son that particular evening, I had 3 pastors show up at my door. It was a Saturday night. It was after 9:00 at night, and they were all sober. And that got me thinking, if I had not 1, not 2, but 3 all show up for me, because obviously I needed somebody like right now, how awesome would that be for me to be able to do that for the next person? And so that night I had 1 drink that evening, and that was my last drink I have ever drank, because I chose to be like those pastors were. I wanted anybody to know that if they had to call me, that I could be there for them, no matter if it was 9:00 in the morning, 9:00 at night, it didn't matter. I wanted to be able to be there for other people, and especially in the time of loss. Because when you're grieving, just losing your child, or maybe it's somebody losing a spouse or somebody losing their parent, it doesn't matter who you're losing. If it's somebody that you love, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt bad. And having people there, it means the world. And I wanted to be able to be that for others. And so because of that, I can love myself, I can love others, And I don't have anything clouding my judgment. When I'm telling somebody that I love them, it's because I actually love them. When I see my husband, he could have just really made me mad, and I can still look at him and say, I love you. And mean it. I actually mean it. I'm not saying it to be snarky. I'm not saying it to be sarcastic. I love my husband no matter what we're in the middle of going through. Trials, we're currently in trials, but I'm not going to stop loving him because we're going through something right now. That's not how love works. That's not how you get to 25 years married, 50 years married. I hear these milestones, and it's less and less frequent because there is so much divorce these days, because people are always looking for the out. Oh, I don't love them anymore. Or, oh, I fell out of love. Well, how about choosing to love? Choosing to love, that's a choice. When you do the whole falling in love thing, it's all, butterflies and rainbows and whatever you want to call it. Yeah, there's the time for that in the beginning, but the reality is it doesn't last. The choosing to love every single day, whether they've put on a few pounds or not, whether they're, losing their hair or turning gray, life happens, bodies shift. What are you going to do? You're going to say, no, you don't look the same as you did 20 years ago. So peace, I'm out. That's not love. That's a person of convenience, and that's not what people want. And if that is what you want, then don't get married and be real about it and say, hey, I want to be with you, but I don't really want to be with you. But who wants that? Can you be honest about what you want? Can you be honest about what you're looking for? Can you be honest about what you love about something? I always end up actually asking myself a whole lot more questions than I necessarily always have answers to. And it's for the simple fact that I'll have scenarios go through my brain, and I don't really know what it looks like. What is it supposed to look like? Because if you haven't been there, haven't lived it, haven't lived through it, haven't seen it, then you don't know. And I can honestly 100% say that, because there is so very much that I have learned about life, about love, about relationships, dating versus courting. What's courting? I had no idea until I came to this church. Quite literally, not going to lie. I mean, I was in my 40s and had never even heard the term. And so when I got asked about courting, I thought they were joking, quite literally. I'm like, what? We can't hold hands? You're kidding, right? Like, we can't kiss? I mean, how else is he supposed to show me that he loves me? Or how else am I supposed to feel loved by him if he's not able to do those things? And that was hard. That was so hard for me, because I didn't understand it, because so many men in my life were not honoring or respecting me as a female, as a woman, as a person, let alone as somebody that they were supposed to be protecting. The people that were supposed to be protecting me weren't protecting me. They were hurting me. They were harming me. They were causing me trauma. They were abusing me. And I did not understand that I didn't understand what love was supposed to look like until it got pointed out. And so when my husband was able to abide by that, and he was able to court me, and we were able to learn, what are you going to do when you're not just running to the bedroom for the Band-Aid? And I never thought of it that way until it got, told to me, you can't be doing that. And I knew that. I always knew that you weren't supposed to be having sex before marriage. It wasn't like I didn't know that. I've always known that as a fact, but I was never able to live that for a long time. And it wasn't until I was finally ready to be with the man that I really wanted to love for the rest of my life, and divorce wasn't to be an option. I wanted to know that kind of love. And so I was willing to learn something that I had never done before, had never tried before. And I didn't understand that until I came to this church. And you're right, Pastor Lordy, dating is practicing for divorce. courting is setting up two people for a successful marriage. And I absolutely believe that. And now I kind of chuckle when people mention, dating, because it's like, okay, why are you dating? Are you actually getting to know them as a person, as a friend, as, because when you get married, you literally should be marrying your best friend. You shouldn't be marrying somebody who's only good in the bed. Because if that's all you got going, then you're in serious trouble, because that is not what takes up the majority of your day. Just saying. If you are courting, learning about the person, what's their likes, what's their dislikes, what's their brain going, how is their brain functioning when you're going in this direction and they're wanting to go in that direction? How are you going to make it come together? And if you can't come together, can you agree to disagree and then still eventually come back together? Because I know even to this day, there's still certain things that my husband and I don't necessarily see eye to eye to. We don't. And that's okay. So one of the things Pastor Lou mentions a lot is it worth going to war over? If it is not worth going to war over, is it even worth bringing up? Because quite literally, like I said, we've already been through hell and back. I mean, and that's not a pat on the shoulder. It just is what it is. It's the reality of what my husband and I have already had to overcome and go through to get where we're at today. And knowing that if we can get through what we've already been through and we're not at each other's throats, or am I going to let this other stupid little thing come in between us? No. I'm going to put on my big girl panties or my big girl jeans or my big, whatever you want to call it, and get over it and move on. And, and that's right. If you're not picking your own battles, if it's not worth going to war over, just let it go. Just let it go. And there's times where I will literally want to sit on my hands or literally bite my tongue because I want to say something so badly. But quite literally, what good would it do versus how much harm would it cause if I were to actually speak those words that I am upset about, that I want to say? So I don't know. Am I causing harm? Or am I wanting to choose to love in the midst of? Through the pain, there's going to be pain. Circumstances are going to happen. There's going to be trials. Trials are going to happen. Are you going to try to work together? Or are you going to let it separate you? It's up to you. We all have to choose. We all have to pick our battles. Do you want to love? Do you honestly, truly, 100% want to love? And not even necessarily just your spouse, your neighbor, the person that's sitting across from you in the classroom, the person that's in the desk and the cubicle next to you. What about the person down the hall? What about the neighbor across the street that blares their music at 2:00 in the morning? Then you don't like it. Then I say move out to the country because then you don't have to worry about it. Sorry. Bad joke. I do. I live out in the country, so we don't have have to worry about a lot of noise and stuff like that. But what do you want? Are you going to choose to be happy? You're welcome, Heather. I love you so much. We have our children for just so much amount of time. And even when they're older, then it becomes a choice, and it's a choice on their part. I am so blessed that my girls want to stay in contact with me. Because honestly, they don't have to. They don't have to be a part of my life. They don't have to let me see my grandkids, but they do. They want me there. And that is a huge thing for me. Because I want them to know the love that I have in my heart today versus what I raised them with. because I didn't have a lot together. I was a young mom. I started having kids. Well, I got pregnant at 17, lost my first, but I had my oldest daughter at 19. And so I started young. And I always kind of wanted to have kids young because I wanted to kind of have a life afterwards. And in that theory, it's kind of in a way worked out because both of my girls having kids now at the age where I am now and what I have learned over, especially these last, just over 5 years, love doesn't look the same. It's not judgmental. It's not ultimatums. It's not manipulation. And that was what I was raised with a lot. That's what I was given a lot. That is what a lot of people that I really didn't want to have contact with offered. Do you want what the other person is offering? Are they offering love? Are they offering their wholeness of love? Are they offering their hearts? Or are they offering a Band-Aid? A quick fix, something that won't last. There's a lot of questions that you actually have to ask yourself when it comes to love, because there's a variety of things that are out there these days. You have more on the internet today than what you did when I was growing up. It just wasn't a thing. The internet dating, the sites that people can go on, that it wasn't around when I was growing up. It just wasn't a thing. So having good boundaries in place and let it be known, when you're meeting somebody, this is who I am. And if they don't like it, don't try to force them to like it. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. Then let them go and move on and find who is the one that's for you. So often I know there was a time when I was quote unquote dating, I was in the dating scene and I was trying to mold myself to who these guys I thought I wanted to be with, who I thought that they would, how they would stick with me. What reasons would I give them to want to choose to stay with me? How could I mold myself? How could I change? How could I whatever? And the reality is thank God those relationships didn't happen, because then it wouldn't have been me. It would have been a version that I put forward to try to attempt to have them like me. And it wasn't me though. So there was a lot of things I had to learn about myself, about my character, that I wanted to make sure that I had rooted to know, okay, so if you ask me a question, what's your favorite color? I can tell you it's purple and I don't have to think about it, because I'm not trying to figure out what answer do you want. It's the answer that it actually is. And for a long time, I couldn't do that. Literally the simplest of questions of what's your favorite color, I would have to think about what would I expect them to like for me to say. And that's the reality about a lot of questions. What's your favorite food? What's your favorite place to go? What is one of your hobbies? Any of those kind of questions. You need to know yourself inside and out before you can let somebody else get to know you. Because if you don't even know who you are, then there's a problem. You need time to yourself, for yourself, by yourself, and getting with God and saying, okay, God, what do I need to change? What do I need to correct? What do I need to do better in? How can I be a better vessel for you? How can I grow? How can I learn? How can I be changed? And then actually implement it. Don't just think about it, because it's easy. It's like, oh, well, I should be having more iron in my diet. Okay. Are you going to do something about it? I need more protein. Okay. Are you going to do something about it? I need to stop lying. Okay. Are you going to do something about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to stop lying? Are you going to actually stop lying? I know for a long time, I was a good manipulator. If I wanted something, I was going to manipulate you until you gave me what I wanted. And if I couldn't, then I would be furious. I would be name calling. I would be shaming. All of the things that you're not supposed to do is what I did because that's what I knew. So once I knew better, if I even remotely catch myself even thinking about wanting to manipulate a situation, I have to stop myself right then and there. And it's like, no, don't even go there, Sandy. Don't go there. That's not the godly thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. And it's definitely going to be no good for nobody. So if you can start calling yourself out, that's kind of one of the harder things to do, because it's a self-reflection of what are others going to see when I am being my best self. What is somebody else, when they first look at me, when they are around me, what is the kind of person that they're going to say, oh my gosh, I just met this gal. And then what are they going to say after that? You know, oh, she complimented me. Oh, she gave me a hug. Or is it, oh, she gave me a snarky look, or, oh, she glared at me, or she turned her head and like ignored me. You know, what kind of a person are you going to be? Are you going to be the child of God that God created you to be? That he's calling you to be? That he needs you to be? Or are you going to be passive? You know, we have choices. We have choices. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to be the vessel that God is asking you to be? Are you being the wife that God's called you to be? Are you being the husband that God's called you to be? Are you being the daughter of the Most High? Are you being the son of the Most High? Are you being that protector, that provider? Are you doing what you say you're going to do? Or are you the person that you need 3 people to back you up because you know you're probably not going to do what you just said you're going to do, but even though you really want to say that you're going to be doing it, you're actually not? You know, think about what you're agreeing to. You know, what are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Let your yes be yes and your no be no. It's biblical. I got asked about being in a chat and I'm like, nope. And simple as that. I didn't have to explain why my no was my no, but I did not want to get into another, situation. You know, when you're kind of already stretched thin and you're looking at different avenues for different things, you don't want to add something else to your plate. And it was okay to say no. So let your yes be yes and your no be no. What's that? A marriage, even friendship, not based on truth, feeling a need to be what the other person wants you to be outside of who you really are, is a marriage heading to peril. Yeah. What do you want? What are you looking for? You know, if you're planning on it being a disaster, then go ahead and be fake. It's not going to last. But hopefully you're not getting married without actually showing your true self. And being married just to be married, to be able to say, I have a spouse, it's not going to save your marriage. Because marriage is work, y'all. It's not an easy thing. You know, even getting married is not even easy. Like, there's a whole marriage. There's a whole thing you have to actually prepare yourself to get ready to do. And then once you're actually married and you're actually cohabitating with this person and choosing each and every single day to love them, no matter what had happened the night before, or the week before, or the month before, or the year before, it's got to all go. It has to. You cannot live in the past. You have to live for the future. And if you want your marriage to work and your future to be bright, you've got to let the past go. Same thing with just even friendships. Loving your friends. Are you being honest with your friends? Here's a good one for you. If somebody's saying, oh, how are you doing today? Are you saying, oh, I'm fine? And you're really not? Is that being truthful, or is that telling a lie? You know, call it like it is. If you're not having a good day, maybe you'll come up with the word. There's some acronyms for fine, but I won't say them on air. But if you think about it, how are you responding when you're being asked questions, even by just friends? Are you being honest? What's real? Or are you trying to cover something up? Or maybe you don't want to admit something's going on. Or maybe you're trying to be so overly positive that you're actually misconceiving what you're actually even feeling, because you're already living in the future when it hasn't actually happened, but you need to actually get there. But first you need to actually come into the reality of what you're dealing with to be able to move forward. There's so many ways to think about it. If one is not happily single, they will not be happily married. That is so true. Who are you? What do you like? What do you like? What do you like? Ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question. Maybe you're a hearts person. Maybe you're a butterflies person. Maybe you like stars. So if somebody comes over to you and you really don't like hearts, and they offer you a heart sticker, are you going to accept it? Or are you going to be like, no, that's okay? Simple things, people. Simple things. But are you being real? Can you be real? Can you be raw enough to be honest with yourself, with those around you? Love yourself enough to be honest with yourself, to be honest with others. You know, you just never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns. I know we are getting close to the hour for the wrap-up time. If you have anything, great. If not, I have just a couple other quick things I will say real quick. And I'm not seeing any questions or other comments coming up. So I know it is very common with Pastor Lori, and I will pass it on as she would. If your life is not right with Christ, please call the church and talk to somebody. If you need prayer, please give us a call. We love you. We want you to know that Jesus is your Savior. Jesus is the only way, the truth, and the life. It is through his light being shown that we can be the light to others, and God will use you as a vessel if you will allow him to. So feel free to give us a call here at the church. Feel free to get some prayer. If you do need help in getting your life right with Christ, just know that you are forgiven of all of your sins. All of them, not just some of them. You don't get to pick and choose. You ask for forgiveness and you are forgiven. The Lord does love you right where you are at, but the Lord also loves you enough to not want to keep you where you're at, because the Father does love you. I love you all so very much. Thank you so much for those of you that hung in there with me today. I know it was an unexpected change for seeing my face versus Pastor Lori, but I appreciate the opportunity to come on here. Thank you so much. Love you all. Have a blessed day. Bye.
Hey River Church, here with your weekly announcement. Summer is almost over, but we have some busy weeks ahead of us. On August 28th and 29th, we have men's conference. Men, you do not want to miss this. Come out and unite with other like-minded men and strengthen your relationship with Christ. September 3rd through 5th, John Duke is going to be here. You do not want to miss this amazing meeting. Come and get filled with the Holy Spirit. September 17th through the 19th, we'll have revival nights with Joe and Becky Cruz. If you have a business or you've been thinking about creating a business, you'll want to come out to our business conference with Adam Lamb, September 25th through 26th. Basically, what we're saying is clear your calendars because there's a lot to get involved with at the River Church. For all the details and registration, visit our website, therivernw.com. We love you. Bye.